Hello again. Okay, now I'm going to be replacing the op amp. So let's get to that. I have did a continuity test on the op amp and the top part of the DAC, this edge, where I believe is most affected by electrolyte compared to the opposite side, because just considering from the fact that when I cleaned the chip, this side of the paint came off, this side did not easily. So to me that means this side is damaged partially, this side is not. Op amp had changed regardless, and like I said, both channels were working, just one was quieter than the other as far as the symptoms of this case. So I have my iron at 650 degrees with my non-leaded Chip Quik, which I again rather use leaded. I just forgot to buy the right thing, but it works. It's just takes a little longer to use. Let's drag this. If you can see this, drag this back and forward. Let's see if I can make a new angle for this. That should work. It's a little hard working from this angle when you're trying to make sure the camera catches everything. Let's see, comes right out. Let me. Yeah, I smell a little electrolyte. Okay, alright. Should be okay though. So I didn't finish my sentence. I did a continuity test. I found that the op amp was pretty much fine, but the DAC, there were two pins, these two pins on the end, that, you know, some of them were reading around, most of the pins were reading around like 1 ohm or 1.2 ohms. These last two here on this end were reading like 1.6, 1.8, so I'm like, you know what, let me just change, add Kynar wire to those, clean those up a little bit. I mean, not clean them up, like jump them. I gotta pull the solder off this one, drop down the temperature. And, you know, just make sure that they have a good, strong connection. I'm not sure exactly what kind of ohm reading is needed. I just assume that an ohm is good and less is better. Or I assume that 1.2 ohms is good and less is better, because I've tried a couple chips that had read 1.2 ohms or around there. 1.4 actually one time, and it worked. I just prefer a tighter reading, just for the fact that I know that everything's connected well. I'm not sure exactly, again, like I said, what it needs. There we go, let's work with that. What I'm going to do now is, this is where things get tedious. So I have my solder here. I'm using, which one is this? Kester solder, rosin core. Let's see, which one is this? It's leaded, of course. I do have unleaded actually, but this one is 6644 rosin core. That's what I'm using. Model number SN, like Steve and Nancy, 63 PB as in peanut butter 37. So SN 63 PB 37, 66/44 rosin core. This stuff actually works pretty good. I do happen to have, well, it's actually holding up the camera right now, my phone, but it's a Kester non-leaded solder, K100LD, 6648 rosin core solder. I believe it's rosin core. I could be wrong. I'm not sure exactly, but it's just lead-free solder, whatever the case is. Works very well, actually. Yeah, it definitely needed a higher temperature, but to work with, of course. But nonetheless, it works very nice. You know, for Kester solder, you know, this for well, not the Kester solder, for lead-free solder, this stuff works very well. However, I prefer to use leaded, just for the fact of how it is known to work. It's a melting period. How long it stays melting, I mean, I'm sorry. Those kind of things make a difference. What I'm going to do now is, I have here, if I can catch it, I have here, where is my hand? This is an this is an LM358 op amp. I'm going to be adding it here. Actually, the orientation, well, I'll describe the orientation in a minute. So what I do is, let me try to get my solder. So what I do is, I just, after I clean this up, which I will, I just touch it like that, just a little bit. Oh, it's not catching anything. Let me tin this. Where's my tin? Okay. just touch it, just a hair, just that much, and well, actually probably need a little more than that. I rub down just a little on the port. I mean solder pads, I'm sorry. What I'm doing basically is, not only am I adding extra solder to the solder pads for the op amp, but I'm just making sure, oh, not too much. I'm making sure that I'm not getting the chip quick stayed on the solder pad. I want to have just regular solder on it, not just desoldering solder. I pull it in towards the middle of where the chip was going to go. The IC. Op amp, I mean. Do is take some regular solder. I just got this from eBay. Can't really see it, but Amtech. Now I've seen Kester bottles, yes, Kester bottles that look exactly identical. So I have no idea if actually it's manufactured from the same place or rebranded. I have no idea what's going on with this. Nonetheless, it's actually not bad solder. Tacky solder in a way. Don't need that much, but no. Gotta make sure the orientation is correct for the DAC. The little indicator to show the position of the chip. The little D-shaped indicator has to go towards the outside of the chip for the DAC only. The D of the DAC goes outside, but the dot for the op amp goes inside. Actually in the same direction, but however it goes on the outside closest to, on the inside of the chip closest to the custom IC. The custom IC is that, which I have no idea what it does. And it has been claimed to, I think I've read somewhere, it's been claimed to direct current, which is very possible. But if it has any kind of, actual functioning properties, I have no idea what that is supposed to be. I just know that it's going to make the game work. And that's about it. Alright, so this is really tough for me. So I'm just going to make it easier for me, whether you could see it or not. Make sure there's no solder here. Just take that off. Alright, so bring us up to 700 now. Alright. Take a little bit of solder. Okay. Now let me get another point. I'm sure with a hot air rework station this would work much easier. You just gotta set in place, tack 2 points, and then add solder prior to, tack 2 points, and put the gun on it. I don't know, I could be wrong, but I think that would be good. So you see here, there's a little dimple for the op amp that goes towards the middle of the chip, towards not only the middle of the chip, but towards the custom IC. The DAC, the cutout goes to, the little dimple goes to the outside of the chip. I could smell a little bit of electrolyte. Okay. Just making sure the chip is working, soldering right. conditioner. Not the best job in the world, but clean enough to know that it was going to work. So now, everything here is good. No bridge, no pins bridged, so that's good. Well, I have my good days and my bad days, honestly. I try to do as clean as I can, but whatever. Listen, good days and bad days. Either way, the job is done right. Now, I gotta fix these 2 pins. Let me just add them. So what I'm gonna do is, so let's first fix actually it's these last 2, the first one and the third pin. Like the first pin goes to this one, goes to the second pin here, the third pin here goes to the first pin. No, my bad. The first pin goes to the 4th pin. It goes up and around and down here. And then the 3rd pin goes to the 2nd pin. That's what my chart says. So let's see how I can figure this out with my tweezers right in front of me. Okay. So let's see. Go around the 4th one. So right here. And go all the way across. I should give it a little more room. Excuse me. So basically traced that trace. I'm just going to tin the tips. Actually, before I do anything, let me do a precaution. What I do is I scrape these little pins. Is it on the camera? Let's see. No. Okay. I scrape these pins. Do the other side too. And I add solder to them. Reason being, these are still connected to the sound chip. So why not just reflow them? That's what I do. The whole, all 64 pins. Usually, not always, but sometimes I do all 64. Usually, what I like to do is this. If the sound sort of works in a way, if it's sort of working, and I'm not getting any trouble issues on the RAM check screen, nothing is coming up bad, what I do is, usually from halfway down the chip, about say, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13th or 14th pin, somewhere near the middle. I like to add solder all throughout till the middle on both sides. And usually I feel that that's best if only the sound is partially working, because then you're just covering the bases of this area. If you're getting any code issues, like RAM check screen issues, or any RAM is bad, but really everything else looks good, and it's a sound chip issue, because it deals with the custom IC, because it draws current and it sends it elsewhere, then I add solder throughout all the 64 pins, all of them. In this case, I don't think I need to, but if I'm getting any trouble issues, I'll do the whole thing, and that'll be that. It's a simple issue, which I've had experience before. I'm going to turn the camera off because I feel like my battery is low. I'll turn it right back on to show the finished product of underneath, and then I'll show myself having after added the traces and capacitors only a couple that I need to do, and testing the chip. I'll be right back.